Hey guys, I'm making a really short video today because a lot of people have been asking me, because they know I'm pretty outspoken and I have been involved with my community for years, and they've been asking me what they can do to get involved with the resistance against this Trump administration. A lot of people have been asking, especially since Black Lives Matter has brought so much attention to the problem with police brutality in communities of color and low-income communities, that people really do want to get involved, but they're like, I don't know what to do. And if they're not a person of color, a lot of times they don't know what to do and what's respectful, and they want to support Black lives, they want to support Native lives, they want to support Asian lives, but they don't really know where to start, and they don't want to be offensive. They want to be good allies. And what I have to say about that is, we need as many people of whatever background you are. Doesn't matter what background you are. If you're against what's going on, doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, you're an independent like myself, it doesn't matter. This is a non-partisan thing that's going on. We need to resist. Okay, so I wrote down just a few notes, and I'm going to try to go as fast as possible through some of these things that I thought of. What's the first thing you can do? Number one thing you can do is resist. Resist the normalizing of any of the stuff, the shenanigans that are going on, these bills that are being passed, rapid fire. I mean, this guy just got in office. You know, he's on Twitter and fighting with people, and he's shutting down, doing gag orders and shutting down, you know, parts of the government and telling them that they can't say certain things, and scientists can't, you know, reveal their findings to the public. This is like the start of a dictatorship, straight up. And so you need to resist. You can't normalize any of this. We can't normalize any type of behaviors that attack certain groups. We cannot go back. Okay, so that's the first thing you can do. Always have resistance in your mind. If there's something that they're doing, resist it. Because at this point, if we don't show them our numbers and show them what the American people really want, which is not walls being built, we need our bridges fixed. We don't need to build walls. We have things that are like going on. Flint doesn't even have clean water, and they're talking about building a wall. I mean, so out of touch with what the people are going through. So you need to resist. At every moment, resist. Number two, this is something that I constantly do because I feel like I'm so ignorant on so many subjects, but I do all the time. I study. You have to educate yourself. You have to start reading books, maybe even some old books that you can't find on the internet. You may have to crack open a couple books. And I say the best way to get caught up on, you know, if you don't know a lot about history, especially American history or, you know, world history, then I would suggest you go on to YouTube and check out a couple subjects. I think the most important thing is that you have a remedial grasp on American history, because I notice a lot of people do not have a remedial grasp on American history. I would study, you know, at least the basics of the Constitution. I would look up, you know, videos about how our government works and the different factions of government. A lot of people, we learn this in high school, but if you didn't continue on, some of this information could be forgotten. So I would say definitely educate yourself. Read books, watch TED Talks. Instead of you watching reality TV or maybe some of the fictional TV that you like, dedicate some of the time that you're going to spend to watch that and watch something educational instead. Documentaries are all over the place. I definitely would also suggest that you read, if you are going to read a fictional book, read George Orwell's 1984, and you will see why people are so terrified of what's going on right now. Okay, this one's very hard for me because I don't really like to leave my house that much, but you have to network. You have to network, and you have to find people who are like-minded that are already doing stuff or want to get involved. Like, for instance, I have now at least 3 or 4 friends in this area that go regularly to protest, that regularly want to go to community meetings, that are super involved or getting super involved. And so I kind of have like an on-call list, and I tell them if something comes up, hit me up, and if I can go, we'll go together. So that way you have a buddy system where, like, for instance, even when I voted, I went with a friend. I could have went with someone else, but I always go with certain friends, and that same friend I went to see Sean King speak with. And so you need to have friends that are politically involved to get you further involved. And it doesn't have to be someone who's, been involved for years. It could be someone like you that's just trying to get into it, or like for me, I'm trying to get back into going out of my house more and going out into the community. So you need to network and have a friend. Okay, let's say you have a ton of stuff going on. You're at home, you got kids, you really can't afford, whether it be, financially or even like legally, where you don't want to be out at a protest where you could get arrested because you have a family to look after, or you have a job that's really time consuming. That's fine. Not everybody needs to be on the front lines. I can't afford to be on the front lines in the way that some other people have been. But what you need to do is, when you're doing your at-home activism, you need to support the people who are on the front line. And part of that is not, we have to be careful about criticizing the way people on the front line are doing things. Because if you're not organizing with those people and giving them your direct thoughts and your direct support, I think it's best that you keep your mouth shut until you are doing something that is better than what they're doing. I personally, part of my activism has always been writing. Lately, I have not been writing because I need to be even more involved than just being a journalist. I need to be an activist myself right now. So, one of the things you can do when you're at home, again, is let people know things on Facebook. That's very important, that you share things that are true on Facebook. If you get a meme, make sure you fact check that meme. Make sure that it's appropriate for the situation, and it's not I don't know how to explain what I'm saying, but make sure that when you share information that you fact check it and you make sure it's coming from a credible source. Okay, there's certain sites that I do like because they do give a lot of information, but a lot of those sites happen to be very left-leaning. You could read stuff from sites that's very right-leaning. You're going to want to try to find certain media outlets that are a little less skewed, or if they are left-leaning, then that you have to find a reputable one that actually gives you facts and sources. And, go look up those sources yourself. A lot of times, I look up articles to get quick facts, but sometimes you have to go into the government's statistic pages and read things for yourself. So that's one of the things that you can do. At-home activism. Also, letter writing campaigns, which that's part of this, another point that I'm going to make. You can call your local senators, you can call your local lawmakers, you can call people in your local government, and you can do that from home. You could say, I'm going to spend 20 minutes today just calling or emailing some of these governmental officials. We got to make sure that we're constantly in their face, we're constantly pestering them. We can't let up. At any point, we can't let up. Okay, so those are just a few ideas of at-home activism. Also, if you have more money than time, which most of us don't, but some of us do have a couple, a little bit of pocket change that $10 we might have spent on something else. You need to give that money to people who are organizing. I would say give it to people who have defense funds. Like if you back Black Lives Matter and they have a local defense fund, then I would donate that money to a local defense fund. I also think that you should donate to Flint if there's any kind of effort going on in Flint, Michigan. Definitely donate to that. I just read that 300 union workers, plumbers, the plumbers union came and installed water filters, 300 of them. The same unions that were demonized by Donald Trump were the ones who came in and they're helping fix the water problem in Flint, Michigan. But we definitely need to let our lawmakers know we're not going to let up on Flint. We're not going to let them forget about Flint, Michigan. I live in Minnesota, and I care about the people in Flint, Michigan, and they deserve clean water. Okay, again, pester your lawmakers constantly. If you can't physically occupy space like they did at the governor's mansion in order to get the charges for Philando Castile actually put on Officer Yanez, if they hadn't done that, most likely I don't think that there would have been as much support for that. They knew people were watching them because they were occupying that space. If you can't physically occupy that space, then you need to try to support the people who are doing that. And like this summer, I couldn't sit down at the governor's mansion, but I brought them food, I brought them water, I brought them, whatever I could do, I tried to do. And so in that way, those are the ways that you can support people who are further pestering the lawmakers. You have to go to their council meetings, city council meetings. If you see anything that's open to the public, you occupy that space and you make your voice heard. And this is really important. We need to not give any safe havens to racists, Nazis, homophobes, xenophobes, Islamophobes, anybody that you hear. If you hear one of your friends make a racist comment, especially our white allies, you need to stand up at this point and say, no, that's not okay around me, and you shouldn't talk like that. You shouldn't think like that about other people. Call people out. Call people out. Make no safe haven. When people punch Nazis, I'm not saying it's right to hit people, but don't give them say, oh, we need to, worry about the Nazis' jaws. No, you need to not worry about Nazis. Worry about the kids in Flint. Worry about the people in Standing Rock whose water is being poisoned. They are poisoning the water. They are poisoning the water. And then the water that they're not poisoning, they're stealing. Nestle stole the water in California. Potable water, drinking water, the municipal water that the people own. We own that water. As the natives say, the water is life, and they're stealing and poisoning our water. This is serious, you guys. This is not a drill. Totally serious. And we need to listen more. And this is something I personally need to do. I need to listen more. And another way that you can listen, let's say that you don't understand what's going on with Native Americans and their water rights. It just so happens, this was way before I knew even about the Dakota pipeline. I started to think about the fact that the Native Americans, every city in Minnesota basically has a Native American name. And I realized I didn't know much about their plight. And I decided, I'm going to go online and I'm just going to listen to videos. And I started to realize that the Native Americans have a serious issue with water rights and access to water on a level that I couldn't even fathom. Like, I didn't even know that this was occurring. But it was my job to educate myself about somebody else's issue. It's not for Black people to explain to you what their issues are. It's not for Native Americans to explain to me what their issues are. It's my job as a human being who cares about other people to go out and learn those things for myself. And I know that we're looking for guidance, but sometimes we just need to we need to go out and seek this knowledge for ourselves. So that's what I would say. Go think about the other groups that you normally the things that they might go through, you're not even aware. Go look up what it's like for, Asian Americans. Start to understand other people's issues. If you're a man, go look at some videos of women explaining their experiences. If you don't know any gay people, go online. There's people who are telling their stories. Let's use the social media for something that's really good. And that's going to my final point, because I've run really long. But my final point is that we need to unite. We all have our classifications and ways that we identify that make us different. But right now, I'm not saying we put aside our differences. I say we work through them. Because we've been putting aside our differences and tolerating each other for the longest. And I don't think that's going to work in this situation. We need to start understanding each other, respecting each other, listening to each other, and especially our white allies. We need you. And we need you to listen to what we're saying and help us. Speak out. Use your privilege, because it's definitely there. Like people were saying, if this women's march was a Black women's march, do you think that it would have gone that way, the way the police treat black people. So we need to understand that this is not over. And for those of you who are just now waking up to this, please, tell other people what's going on and get people involved. Love each other. I'm going to cut this off at 15 minutes. And please like, share, subscribe, and I hope that I did my best articulating this video. All right, peace, guys, and resist. Always resist.